Welcome back, everyone, to Leah's Lifestyle, and we're doing Chapter 3 of Invested, Voting for a Mission with My Money. Let's just get right into it. So this is for March. Again, you don't have to wait till March to do it. We're speed tracking this 1 week at a time, right? So it can be at your pace, whatever's comfortable for you. For this month, we're focusing on for this section, we're focusing on creating my investing office, premiere on corporations, finding mission, and story of a company. A little sippy sip. Perfect. I got my mug of coffee. I got my notepad here. I'm gonna write down Invested Chapter 3 notes. My little star so I know where it begins. Okay, let's get into this. So the first section I took here was all my excuses were still true. I was still busy, still bad at math, still overwhelmed by how much information there was to take in. And I think that's going to be true no matter what. Even right now, I'm learning a new type of investment, and right as it happened, a war broke out, and that makes this type of investment very risky and very unknown, and it's much harder to do like what I was trying to do. So I've kind of taken a step back, and I'm focusing on the book. I'm focusing on looking into these companies that are being affected so I can learn as I go. So even though I still have all that, I'm not going to give up. I'm still going to keep moving forward. I'm still going to keep doing things. So it's just trying to figure out what those things are that you can do. What are the things that you feel comfortable doing still in these more questionable time periods? She even says, how could I integrate learning to invest into my life so well that I would stick to it? And this is where we go back to before in the book, where she's talking about you need, just like yoga practice or just like anything else you do, you need your space. I'm in my space. You need your time every Wednesday at noon. Right, today I'm a little off, but I'm still here. I'm still doing it. Sometimes we have to adjust. So you find those things. You keep doing it. You find the books you're going to read. You set up multiple books that you know are going to keep you busy for that year. You look into where you're going to invest and how you're going to invest. Those are still steps, whether you're putting your money there or not. Adjusting the way who you're putting your money to, right? Like we learned in the last chapter. Where and when would I practice investing? Where and when? You got to find that. What was the equivalent of my yoga mat or my running shoes in investing? Exactly. What are those things? Just like working out, just like going to work, like everything that you do in life has a set schedule, and you go to it every day. Put this in there. Make it a part of it, even if it's just listening to a podcast on your way home. Here's a person that we're going to write down. Marie Kondo. Mariekondo. The expert on tidying up says to visualize in concrete terms the ideal space. So, you need to think about yourself in that situation. What is my ideal space? So, I'm going to look up this woman because I think there's a book here. Marie Kondo. Alright, who is she? She's a Japanese organizing consultant, author, and Netflix star who's known for her decluttering advice and the KonMari method. Kondo's philosophy centers around keeping items that spark joy and discard the rest. Her New York Times bestselling book, here it is. This is the book we're going to want. The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. So we're going to write that down. Write book so I can remember that this is a book. My little stars, your little marks there so you can remember that this is one you want to check out. The Life-Changing magic of tidying up. And then I'm just going to do my little circles so that I remember to look into that book and to read it at some point. That sounds awesome. Let's see, I think Letters from Japan is another one. Joy at Work or organizing something. But yeah, I think that just that first one is the main one. But she has a couple other books too. So, a person to look into, someone to know about. We always want to keep up with these people. Okay. And then, like in the podcast, which is so funny that last week we heard a little bit about Guy Spear. Guy Spear is, from what I remember, from what I looked up last week, is a very interesting person. I'm just going to read his thing. Guy Spear is a Zurich-based Swiss, Germany, Israel investor. He is the author of Education of a Value Investor. Spear is the manager of the Aquarium Fund with $400 million in assets. He is well known for bidding the U.S. $650,100 with Monish Pabrai for charity lunch with Warren Buffett in 2008. So, I don't agree with him investing with Israel, but he clearly has plenty of money and puts it in good places. And sometimes you gotta work with the bad people to take their cash and to fight against them, you know? So I'm just gonna write Guy Spear here because it was brought up. We still need to learn about these people, whether we agree with them or not. And then we're going to write, I do think I've read this book, but I'm still going to make sure that I've read it by writing it down. And it's even here, the book, The Education of a Value Investor. Of a value investor. And do my little circle. Okay. That he has a treasured photo of himself and Warren Buffett in his office to remind him who his hero is. Uses a standing desk to stay alert and stays away from analysis about companies as much as possible to keep his own counsel unsullied. To each their own. Everyone has to do it the way that they're going to do it, right? Everyone has to you gotta figure out, what does it look like for me when I'm investing, when I'm in my spot? What do I need? For me, Sailor Moon, it makes me happy, it makes me smile. For me, pink, it makes me excited. Over here on the side, I have pictures of my great-great-grandparents and my family members, and I have I'm learning Japanese, so I have my Japanese book, and I have a sign language book, and I have my notepads, and I want to learn Tai Chi, so I have a Tai Chi book here, and I'm trying to learn calligraphy. I'm not doing as good as I'd like, but I still have it here as a reminder, a little calligraphy book, so I can have that accessible if I'm bored and I would like to do that. Those are things like, it can look however it needs for you to feel like it's your place, it's your comfort zone. It has my streaming stuff here, so I can easily pop everything up, and it's clean and nice, so I can have my cup of coffee. My water's right next to me, so I can stay hydrated. I have plenty of pens and markers, so I can do all my little notes. Do what you need to do. This is what she did. First, my talisman to remind me to be thankful for my problems. Mario. Can't forget that thankfulness. Have my grandparents over there. Second, something to remind me why I was doing this when I got tired and didn't feel focusing on investing anymore. Underneath, I have all my investing books right here. I'll literally pull some out right now. I'm going to take this on my lap to make it a little easier. Consciousness. The seven habits of highly effective people. Healing with a child. Economics explained. Your money or your life. And it just keeps going. How to change your mind. And it just keeps going. I have so many. Entrepreneurs Magazine, Complete Guide to Owning a Home-Based Business. And these are all things that like I've read. These are ideas I'm trying to conceptualize and put into my own mind. If books are not your thing, don't put books. If this overwhelms you, like I have another 10 books or more. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I have a total of 23 books with all of the thoughts, all the ideas, all the things I want to learn, all the things I want to be, all the things I think I'm working towards right here underneath me. So at any point, if I feel like I need it, I can pull it out. It's not overwhelming to me. That's not overwhelming to me. That excites me. That makes me happy to put these in a place where I can easily pull them out like this. And I can easily put them back. Just set them all back, just like that. Boom. That's all cleaned up and done. So, do whatever makes you comfortable. Do whatever makes you feel excited. You gotta find these things that are easy, simple, fast. Just like when you are starting a normal job, right? The first thing you do is you get used to waking up at a certain time. You get used to getting all the stuff you need. When you get home, you get used to your decompressions. This is the same situation, different concept, right? So, she said, second thing, remind me I was doing. So, her Mario, thankfulness, a reminder of focus. Then she brings in books, right? Books were a good idea. Though I piled up other books to serve as a laptop stand, additional copies of Rule 1, which is her dad's, Playback Time, her dad's, The Education of a Value Investor, I need to get that, Jan Chervich. Oh, you should be writing these books down. If you want to check out any of these books, I'm going to write down ones I don't have yet, which I already wrote down, The Value Investor, so that's good. But this one is a good one to write. Jan Chandler's Let My People Go Surfing. It's YVONCHOUINARDS, and the book is called Let My People Go Surfing. And then we have Gretchen Rubin, The Happiness Project. I think we wrote that down somewhere else, but I'm going to write it down again, just in case. Hi, J Beans. Yes, 23 books. Okay, Gretchen, GRETCHEN, Rubin, RUBIN. And her book is The Happiness Project. And you don't have to get these books. Remember, you can go to the library. And then if you really like them, if they really help you, buy them. And then Atul Gawade's, ATUL GAWANDE. And that book is Complications. And then we have another one, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which we just wrote that one down. The Big Short. I don't know who that's by. Let's look that up real quick because she doesn't say. The Big Short. Let's see who that is. Big Short book. The Big Short Inside the Doomsday Mechanic. The Big Short Inside the Doomsday Mechanic by Michael Lewis, a non-fictional book that explains the 2008 financial crisis through the short story of a few outsiders who predicted the collapse of the... Okay, so that sounds like a good book to write, okay? Or to read. So we're going to write The Big Short Inside the Doomsday Machine, and it's by Michael Lewis, Michael Lewis. Alright, So these are all books we want to check out. I'm just making my little stars here. Okay. And then on page 69, I reminded myself not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So perfectionism can kill everything. If you feel like it needs to be done exactly right, honestly, you just gotta start and try. That is the biggest thing, just getting started. A lot of people don't even do that. So even if you're just reading books, that's a step ahead of most people. I wanted to set it up so that 2 or 8 or 10 years from now, when I wanted to know everything I had found on a company, I would be able to easily find it and wouldn't have to duplicate my work. That's what I'm doing. Everything I'm learning about companies right now, it's going on my OneNote. It's in a specific storybook. I have it all sectioned out. I have my workshop from Ruled Town set up in its own little section in that. I have the investment stuff of the companies I'm looking at for what's going on with the war. I have the companies that I want to look at regularly in there as well. So just find whatever works for you. You can have it. We've talked about seeking alpha. We've talked about using the Rule 1 tool. So you just gotta find what works for you. And that might take some trial and error. And that's okay. The sooner you start, the better. Page 70. Several hundred years after the Dutch invested the stock exchange, the British added their own history-changing innovation: limited liability for the owners of corporations. Which is exactly what it sounds like. Liability of company owners was limited to the asset of the company, and their personal assets could not be reached by company creditors, which means that if the company goes under, their home, their personal cars, their personal bank accounts cannot be affected. The British economist Adam Smith's fundamental premise, the people will always act rational in their own best interest, is modified substantially when the penalty for unconscious behavior is muted by a corporate shield. So, we need to look into Adam Smith, Adamsmith, and we know that he's a British economist. But we're just going to look him up anyways. Just see what it says. Oh, he died in July 17th, 1790, was a Scottish philosopher and economist. So he's also a Scottish philosopher. It also says Scottish, not British. Interesting. I wonder if she got that mixed up. Referred to as the father of economics. Ooh, I like that. Father of economics. He pioneered political economy, proposing that free market, the division of labor, and self-interest drive prosperity, a concept known as the invisible hand in his seminal 1776 work, The Wealth of Nations. So he has key theories and contribution: the invisible hand, the wealth of nation, division of labor, free market, and the theory of moral sentimentation. His earlier work on ethics, which explores how human moral judgments are formed through social interactions and sympathy. I think these key theories and contributions are things that I'm going to mark down because they sound interesting, and I want to look more into them. So, the invisible hand, the wealth of nations, and it has a date here, so I'm just going to write it 1776. I'm sure there's a reason for that. Division of labor, free market. It's good to know where all our stuff comes from, guys. And the theory of moral sentiments. And that's also has a date of 1759. Okay, moving on. I knew that if I was going to be an investor, I wanted to be a value-driven, mission-oriented investor who could distinguish between the angle companies and the monster companies. Which businesses are behaving honorably, following the values I believe are important? I want to know which are not. The information the company has and the information the shareholder has is never going to be the same. Shareholders are the owners of a company, but shareholders do not run a company. Shareholders vote to elect the people who sit on the company's board of directors, which makes major decisions for the company. The board of directors then hires and appoints the company's executive officers who run the operations of the company. The board of directors has a fiduciary duty, a legal and ethical responsibility to make decisions for the company for the benefit of the shareholders, but the great latitude in how it accomplishes that purpose. Shareholders indirectly control the company. I think this is a good thing to remember because when I was younger, I would hear all the time, oh, the companies are only doing this for the shareholders. Oh, the companies only do that for the shareholders. And I realized that when people said that, they were the shareholders. They were the people who were buying the shares and allowing the companies to do that. And so it's kind of interesting thinking back and like realizing the people complaining were the people putting their money into the company and allowing those people to operate the company the way they were. So I think a big thing to remember is if there is somebody complaining, typically they are a part of the issue. They are a part of the problem. You have to put your money where your mouth is. If you don't like that company, pull your money out. No, don't put it in it. Put money in somewhere else against the opposite companies. Don't just do it blindly, of course. You should make sure that they're being, upheld well and that, there's good management and there's a good moat and all the things that are supposed to be there. But you can't just blame other people when you are a part of the people who are putting the money there. In practice, and depending on the company, many board members are eager to get something like $250,000 per year for a few hours of meetings. The board is incentivized to hire executive officers who will grow the company and make the stock price rise, and the officers are incentivized to make the board happy with their performance and make the stock price rise. This incentivizes structure sometimes perversely encourages short-term corporate decisions instead of a long-term growth. It is any wonder that executive officers' compensation at some companies has become higher and higher and higher. The incredibly high compensation has created mercenary CEOs who, even if the long-term results of their decisions harm the business, still get their millions in annual compensations and a golden parachute at the end. Enron, WorldCom, Tyco, and Health South top the list of companies that have been run by CEOs to make themselves rich or even just make themselves look good. That's a big thing. You got to know who your CEOs that are going into there. You guys have to remember that when you put money into your 401k, when you put money into an index fund, you're giving money to these people for Enron, WorldCom, Tyco, Amazon, Microsoft. Those are if you do not agree with those companies, if you do not like the way they are running, you should not be investing in them, and you should make sure that your 401k, your whatever you're investing in does not support those companies. I'm not saying I don't agree with those companies. I'm just saying that if you're complaining about them, if you don't like what they're doing, then why are you giving them your money all the time? I'm just saying. Outside of that, even if you were investing, you buy their products. You use their products. So, stop complaining and stop using the products. It's that simple. And I know that's hard because you're like, oh, how am I going to get this out? So what you're saying is they do provide something you like. So don't complain about it. I'm confused. You have to choose. You don't get both. You have to do what's right for yourself, whether it makes your life easier or not. CEO pay at major corporations average 20 times that of their employees. Today, CEO pay average 300 times that of their employees. As an investor, I want to support the ones that don't. Agree. I agree. I want to invest with companies who give an even share of the money and do not just give millions of thousands of dollars to their CEOs, to the board, just because they're there. Just because they're making it look good for a short time. And that can be hard. Especially in today's large capitalist society, you know? So now we're going to move on to voting for a mission with your money. It's not just investing. It's where you put your money daily. Corporations that are wonderful in the sense that they share my values and they walk my talk. I wanted to support the Andrew Carnegie, Steve Jobs, and the Oprah Winfrey's, which is so funny because right now we know that's... I'm going to write these names down because I definitely want to look into them a little bit more. But we know Oprah Winfrey is not as great, right? It's like this. She's like the Ellen DeGeneres. Yes, she's done good things. Yes, she's put money in good places. But we also know she hasn't done that too. We also know that she's in some stuff that we just don't want people in, right? I think I even remember there's some negative stuff about Steve Jobs. No one's perfect. So you need to really figure out what it is those key values and morals you're following, and like what it is you're choosing, and being able to accept that people are going to fuck up and people are going to make mistakes. So we're just going to write down these names so I can look into them later. Andrew, because I want to know why she put the names in here. Carnegie. Carnegies. Steve Jobs, of course, I think I know why she put him in there. But Oprah Winfrey that's an odd one for her to throw in. Okay. They weren't perfect. They were driven by the personal desire to be the best, to create the best product, to invest their lives in marketing that makes things they could. It's not idealistic to say so. And nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be idealistic. That's what she's talking about before. Your desire to find the most perfect person, the most perfect business could be the reason why you make nothing. Could be the reason why you do nothing. So don't let it stop you. You might buy a company, decide later that you don't like that person, you don't like their morals, you don't like their values, or where they're putting their money, and take your money out. That's completely okay. You can do that. How was I going to figure out who were the good guys? Lloyd Dobler in saying anything was exactly right. I don't want to sell anything, buy anything, or process anything as a career. I don't want to sell anything bought or processed, or buy anything sold or process anything sold, bought, or processed, or repair anything sold, bought, or processed. This is another person. I don't think it's important that we need to look him up right now, but I do think it's important to check out Lloyd, Lloyd, Dobler, Dobler. And it says, in saying anything. So I think Say Anything is a book. But I'll check it out. But that wasn't me anymore. What I wanted to do was invest in people who were into everything Lloyd was not. See, she even changed her mind. People who were selling quality goods, who were buying things that carefully chosen, who were behaving with integrity. those are good things. Integrity is a good value. Some of my friends think we live in a dystopia world of corporate fascism driven by the greed of faceless men. That might be true if we do nothing. But I could cast a vote for which corporations and CEOs would occupy my world in the future. We have to know those things. We have to. As a consumer, I had voted with my dollars every single day for what I wanted to see more of on the market. In exactly the same way, I now could expand voting with my dollars to the stock market. I wanted to vote for companies that had a mission to change the world for the better, just as much as the founders of the startups I loved did. I did not want to support companies that took advantage of good people looking for honest work for paying its employees the bare minimum and treating them poorly, like Walmart does. And like I've said in the past, like I specifically have not bought from Walmart for many, many, many years until recently. And only because right now I don't have a car. They do shipping to me, and it's one of the closest grocery stores. So sometimes you gotta live within your means and what works for the time being. But the moment that I can, no more Walmart. I'm not doing that. It gives the lowest price right now, and sometimes, unfortunately, that's what you gotta do, especially when money's tight. But when you can, when you are able to, you have to move away from that. Invest, and actually that's a part of some of the things. Like as summer comes around, I'm growing my own foods and vegetables, and I always move towards going to the weekends, doing the farmers markets and buying from the local farmers markets instead of from the grocery stores, because then I'm putting my money into the local economy. That's just a thing I do. You don't have to, but that's a way to vote with your money. Investing might actually be useful in this world, I realized. Good companies needed me and others like me to vote for them with our dollars for ethical animal farming, organic strawberries, and well-paid workers. The vote exists whether I'm conscious of it or not, and it definitely exists whether I want it or not. I could ignore the fact, as most investors do, or I could embrace it. Most of the Wall Street professionals and robo-advisors out there don't consider investing to be a vote, and they don't consider mission at all. So you gotta learn those things. You have to figure it out, and you can find robo-advisors and Wall Street professionals who, follow the rules that you set. But nonetheless, you will be paying them a percentage. Just don't forget about that. Money talks. The largest investor in America aren't Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. They are retirement funds like Cal STRs, the California Street Teachers Retirement System Pension Fund, with over $110 billion invested in the stock market. If all of us small investors took our money away from the control of the Wall Street pension funds like Cal STRs and invested it individually in what we want to support in the world, those companies without good missions would either change or die. And we've seen that before. We've seen it happen before, and we can do it. We have the control. Take the money out of the stock price goes down. The CEO gets fired, and the board gets replaced. We're talking months, not years. That thought gave me a little shiver. It could be the end of overpaid CEOs and crony boards, and the end of exploited workers, the end of poulters. But people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I just got to put it in my 401k. It's not doing anything. But you might be the reason why people are getting paid so little. You might be the reason why CEOs aren't getting paid so much. It's your money. It could be a market takeover of well-run, ethically managed It could be a market takeover of well-run, ethically managed, mission-oriented companies that make excellent returns for their investors. If we all acted like we were adults who take responsibility for our financial decisions, we would have massive power. It would also make this investing thing a lot more fun. We don't have a way to controlling institutional fund managers. All we can do is take our money away from them and do it ourselves. Where would I pivot next? What would I do to change the world next? Here's the list of her missions. 1. This is what she wants from companies. Treat employees decently and pay a living wage. A company that isn't ethical is not putting good vibes out into the world. It's creating employees who don't like it. It's eventually go down. 2. Treat products decently. If animals, humanely. If products, be environmentally friendly. If food, use sustainable farming practices. And we've seen some of that change, but they kind of don't do it exactly the way, they do it just enough to keep us calm. So we have to really hold the wall, hold our boundaries. 3, prefer local and small. Support the community and use local information about the economy's environment, local reputation, and employees. And I think that's a big thing, because when you're a large company, you can afford to work with smaller companies. They just choose not to. They choose to take over and cut them out. It's cheaper for them to do it that way. They make more money and they can hold on to it better. The CEOs get more of the money when they do that stuff. I don't vote because one vote doesn't make any difference, or I just buy the cheapest, closest, easiest thing because it doesn't matter anyway. But your vote or purchase multiplied by thousands of similar votes or purchases could have a higher impact. And I think that's so true. I hate that my vote really does mean so little. But that doesn't mean that if we work together that it couldn't. We can all decide to buy more locally. We could all decide to be vegan. We could all decide to be more humane. We could all choose to be this and that, and to take our money out of the funds, take our money out of the hands of these people so we can invest it ourselves. But we don't. The majority of us don't, which means, unfortunately, the few of us that do, it does mean less. So we have to work together. We have to choose as a community to be together in this. I now saw myself as a mission-oriented impact investor. I feel the same way. A tale of how the company came to be, who runs it, and why it does what it does. I call this a tale, a story. A story about a business, meaning, management, moat, margin, safety. Those are things you should write down. Story about a business should be that its values are what you want to see more in the world. A mission. Story system. It starts with how he found the business and if other investors are buying it. Understand the business, what protects it against competition, the moat, who runs it, and what is its value. Describe the industry, its competition, and why the business has a durable competitive advantage, backing up with the compelling historical consistency of performance and a solid management team. State the value of the business, the practice at which he would buy the business, the buy price, even put the business on sale. How long it might take the business to recover, summarize with 3 great reasons to buy the company. If you can get all that together on a company, you know enough about it to invest in it. I thought about how I would evaluate a startup company as an investor. What is the company all about right now, and what is their plan for future? A big problem with this that you guys have to remember with startup companies is they typically don't have enough time, 5 years, to show proof of good management, moat, and durability. So it is a bit of a risk to be getting into those companies, because even if you see that they're much better than what is already happening, those larger companies can overshadow and push those companies out, make them go bankrupt, and force them out of the market. So you just need to be careful when you're doing stuff like that. We're different, and that's the point. I vote for my values, he votes for his, and we see what happened. But at least we didn't pretend our money was voting for nothing. And that's a big thing. You cannot pretend the money's not voting for anything. Just because you're throwing it into your 401k, you don't want to be like, oh, nothing's happening. You're voting for something. You might not know what those companies are because it's in this index fund, but whatever's in that index fund is what you're voting for. And if that's just Amazon, if that's Nvidia, if that's, oil companies, then that's what it is. That's what you're voting for. And you could be a vegan who uses electric cars and, but if that's what's in your 401k, then you're voting against what you're buying every day. So these are really important things you need to know. Much like the law, investing has a language unto itself, and it's not taught in school. We normals need this help. We are normals. All right, we ready for the homework, guys? Next Wednesday, our book homework. I'm just writing down my little section here. It says March practice, but it's not March practice. It's this section practice whenever you get it done. Spend 10 minutes creating your investment office. Mine's done. What will create your own atmosphere of financial freedom? What will support you to keep going when you practice is difficult? Then, in your investing office, brainstorm how you already vote with your money. So that's what I'm going to say. 1, how do I already vote with my money? And I'm already conscious of this, but maybe you're not, so make sure you do that. Do you want to keep what are the values you're supporting? Do you want to keep supporting them? From that, make a list of the missions you choose to vote for with your investing money. So, with that, you need, what are the values you're supporting? What are the values you are supporting? And do you want to keep supporting them? And then make a list of the missions you choose to vote for with your money. All right. And then don't forget to read chapter 4. And we'll get back into the rest of the value investing reading next week. So just things to learn and practice until the next time when we come back and read chapter 4 and go over that and the homework from that. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. If you're finding this on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so that way you know every time I post, which should be every Wednesday to Thursday. And leave a comment down below. What are some companies you're looking into that you're excited or learn something new about a company that you're wanting to look into and find? Tell me what's up, guys. I want to know. I'm curious. And I'll see you later.